Hey, would it be? It's your boy DREOG. Welcome back to the OG family. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you're rocking with the vibes and the content, man. Today, we got these 20 famous people who lost their money and went broke. Look, man, there's some people on this list that had absurd amounts of money that can really change the whole outlook of your family life down the line. And somehow these people seem to lose it. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it's a lot easier to spend these large amounts of money because you're making these. A lot of people want to make up for the time that they didn't have this money and all the things they want to do and all the things they ever wanted to do. They go ahead and get it out the way, and it comes with a specific price, man. But we gotta be smarter with our money, man. Hopefully we can learn something from this video. Just know if you're going through a tough time in your life, just know we're going through this thing called life together. Let's get it.
Nicolas Cage. You might know him from his unforgettable anti-hero roles that he's played for decades. Nicolas Cage is arguably one of the best male Hollywood actors of the 20th and 21st centuries.
I lost my hand! I lost my bride!
But did you know that he went completely bankrupt at one point of his career? He once said that during the course of his entire acting career, he paid over $70 million in taxes.
Woo!
That wasn't enough for the IRS. Because of some changes, the IRS asked for an extra $14 million, and that is when Nicolas's life started to go backwards. You know, as it would. Mr. Cage's net worth was once $150 million. So how was it suddenly difficult for him to pay a mere $14 million? Kinda seems like an amount of money that any actor in his position could somehow find.
Yeah.
The other is you get to keep 75% and not go to prison for the rest of your life.
There's one important thing to take into consideration though. Nicolas liked to spend his money. He bought not one, but two medieval castles in Europe, countless sports cars, expensive watches, boats, and many other properties all over the United States. Not to mention the many exotic animals that he compulsively acquired. And, you know, that all adds up. All that reckless splurging put Mr. Cage in a difficult position. He basically had to make at least $30 million a year just to stay afloat. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 9.
Y'all see what I'm saying? More money, more problems, people.
19.
So I was gonna be people that want your money too.
Warwick. She was once one of the most popular divas of the United States. During the 20th century, she captured the hearts of all Americans through her acting and her singing. It's not for nothing she was, in her youth, one of the highest paid female singers of her time. She took gospel music mixed in pop and soul and created a brand new sound that would make generations dance and shake their troubles away. But on March 21st, 2013, she had to file for bankruptcy at the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of New Jersey because the sum of her debts was a whopping $10 million. How can someone go from being at the top to filing for bankruptcy? Well, according to Daniel Stoltz, her business manager had grossly mismanaged the singer's affairs, resulting in a crippling debt. In other words, before Miss Warwick even knew about it, she already owed a small fortune in taxes, completely unaware of it. Although she has paid a lot of the taxes she owed at face value, the amount of interest kept being added.
That's crazy.
Although Miss Warwick was gracefully allowed to keep her belongings and personal assets, something quite rare for the IRS. Amongst her belongings, there were fur coats, artwork, furniture, diamond earrings, and $1,000 in cash. Some would consider this not being enough for one of the best singers of all time. Number 18.
And you know what's crazy though, bro? When you doing shit like this, you living this life, bro. When you're going through this shit, there's nobody else to save you. But when you're making all this money, man, you're taking care of everybody, patting everybody's pockets. But it's just crazy when you're going through this shit right here. Nobody's there to save you, so you gotta be a lot smarter with your money. Extra people out, man. Everybody don't need to benefit from off of your money, you know. We gotta save ourselves at the end of the day. No, we want to help everybody, but you gotta save yourself first.
Kanye West. He certainly needs
billionaire,
no
though.
introduction. Kanye West is probably the most well-known and recognized celebrity out there, and he seems to be good at everything he does. He's a rapper, he sings, he produces music, he's a fashion designer, and also an entrepreneur. Talk about a jack of all trades.
They forgot politician.
and he's worth a staggering $1.3 billion. He's a very lucrative, diversified, and savvy businessman. Take his fashion brand, Yeezy. That alone brings in insane amounts of money, and he is the sole owner of it. Another thing to consider is that his live shows always get sold out. He literally fills up entire arenas without even trying. And that also brings in ridiculous amounts of money. And then there's his YouTube channel, which has, on average, 25 million views per month. So, knowing all this, the question begs to be answered. How is it humanly possible that Kanye West is bankrupt? He officially reported that he is $53 million deep in personal debt. Well, knowing Kanye, the answer isn't that hard to see, actually. He simply has too much of a grandiose and luxurious lifestyle. He simply spends too much money on things like solid gold toilets.
This shit is funny.
Number 17.
You want to know why that shit is funny right there by Kanye, man? It's because the simple fact is he's a fucking billionaire. Who cares? The IRS know that he can fucking pay for their home company if he wanted to. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but y'all know what I'm talking about. He got enough money, man. He good. Like, stop the cap. Stop the cap. He ain't...
Allen Iverson. He is a former NBA MVP. His unforgettable contributions to basketball
the legend
would
himself
forever change the game and how we understand it. But then, how come he had to beg in a shopping mall for enough cash to buy a cheeseburger? It seems improbable that a man of his stature in the world of sports didn't have enough money for a simple cheeseburger. Everything was going great until a judge in Georgia seized all his bank accounts to pay for an $860,000 jewelry bill. But how come someone that amassed $250 million during his 14-year NBA career couldn't pay that amount of money?
Because he had a certain deal set up.
Somewhat of a mystery.
No,
but
it's
the
not.
fact that he had a $860,000 bill just for jewelry should be your first clue. And it turns out Allen Iverson had, at the moment of the seizing, a bank account that was worth $32 million. But according to someone familiar with the basketball star, he could not access that account until he would turn 55 years old. Although the managers of the account did release $1 million yearly for Iverson to spend. So he wasn't bankrupt after all. I mean, $1 million per year is a very handsome sum if you ask me. Number 16.
You know what? That was the smartest thing that somebody could have did for him. Because imagine if they would have gave him that money early on. He would have blew through that shit, man. We'd be talking about a completely different person. Now he's a more mature adult man. Somebody was looking out for that man. Props to them. That's real talk. Have somebody in your corner that's looking out for you and not just looking at your money. Real talk.
Gary Busey. If you like eccentric and toothy actors, you're probably already a big fan of Gary Busey. He was in iconic movies like Point Break, which earned $83 million globally, and Lethal Weapon, which earned a staggering $180 million globally. He also earned an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for his portrayal of Buddy Holly in The Buddy Holly Story in 1978. So what happened with this beloved quirky star? Well, some people think that everything pivoted for the worse after a terrible motorcycle crash. According to The Hollywood Reporter, in 1988, the superstar suffered a major head injury in a motorcycle accident. It was quite a severe accident, and Busey was not wearing a helmet, so he actually endured some serious brain damage that resulted in an inability to censor himself. In other words, he lost his filter. His personality got amped up to 11, and that's not kindly regarded in Hollywood. Because of his downfall after the accident, he sadly turned to drugs, and this caused some erratic public mishaps. But most importantly, he couldn't act like he used to anymore, mainly because he was now struggling to remember his lines. The once biggest up-and-coming male actor was now dramatically falling into oblivion.
Because he ain't want to wear a helmet.
He filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection in California. At this point, he was over $500,000 in debt.
Damn.
Number 15. Michael Jackson. Now, let's talk about the ultimate, the greatest king of pop. He was ranked as the most lucrative posthumous celebrity for 7 years in a row, which means that Michael Jackson was still making millions of dollars every year, even after his death. Now, that's something that most stars can't say for themselves. Luckily, I guess if they could, it'd be spooky. They'd be zombies. But then, how's it possible that a superstar like him that made billions of dollars during his lifetime would end up broke at the end? As you might already know, it all started in 1993 when he was accused of molesting a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler.
You molested this boy.
Totally false.
And these accusations were just to be the first of a mountain of others, and the pop star simply couldn't keep up with all the legal fees. At the end of a long legal battle, Michael had to pay the Chandler family $23 million. And to pay for it, he had to take out a $30 million loan. But that loan would only get bigger and bigger over time. The bad reputation, the bad press, and the stress of court took a toll on the king of pop, who couldn't perform anymore due to medical complications. It was the beginning of the end. And even after his mega deal with Sony, Michael was just piling up debt everywhere. Number 14.
Y'all want to know what this is though on that Michael shit? I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. It's always leeches that I be telling y'all about that want to these big white companies behind these people. They're good with your blackness while you're in your prime because they're making a whole bunch of money from your ass. But as soon as they don't need you, that's when all this bad shit is gonna start to happen because they can't have you end as a strong black man, end your career on a high pedestal. Because no, they always find a way to try to tear that down, man. And that's the trend that we're going through, bro. You can't be popping, you know, like that and, you know, setting a good example. That's real talk, man. Mike ain't do none of that shit. Shit crazy.
Chris Tucker.
He was weird, but he wasn't touching kids.
If you're a fan of the movie The Fifth Element, then you might remember Chris Tucker's amazing performance as Ruby Rhod screaming super green in his leopard unitard. But that wasn't the movie that made him a very rich man. It was Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3 that paid him $25 million apiece for the last 2 movies of the franchise. The thing to consider is that the first Rush Hour was made in 1998, the second in 2001, and the third in 2007. And in between, Chris Tucker didn't appear in any other projects. Apparently, he didn't like being in the limelight. Or was it that he was simply not being cast for any other roles? After Rush Hour 3, Tucker begged Jackie Chan to make a 4th one, even though the 3rd one was very badly received by the critics and the public alike. So Jackie Chan declined the desperate offer. And since then, Tucker's just not really been around. He did try to go back to do some stand-up comedy, but he had been away from the microphone for such a long time that nobody really wanted him anymore. There was also the fact that he became a newborn Christian, so he wasn't comfortable using foul language anymore. And to be honest, that was kind of the cornerstone of his acting and of his stand-up comedy. Number 13. Burt Reynolds.
Chris Tucker still got money,
He
yo.
was a sex symbol during the 70s, and back then, he was pulling down $10 million a year. Nowadays, that might not be much for a superstar, but back then, that was a fortune. The equivalent today would be about $33 million. He started acting in TV shows. His well-spoken southern accent and his love for race cars and beautiful women went together fantastically with the manly man characters they were looking for at the time. He even opened his own theater where he produced every play. So, how come he died broke? Well, he once said to Vanity Fair that he lost more money during his lifetime than should be possible, and all for not paying attention. First of all, he made huge investments in a couple of restaurant chains that turned out to be a complete disaster. In the aftermath of that fiasco, he lost about $20 million. And then the coup de grace, his marriage to Lonnie Anderson. She was something of a shopaholic. And by that, I mean she
tell he was at the
maxed out
end.
a credit card with a $45,000 limit in just 30 minutes. Imagine the kind of money she spent on a daily basis. His money. And that wasn't even the worst she ever did. Their divorce was extremely expensive as well. After the divorce and settlement was finalized, Reynolds was left with a mere $5 million. Number 12.
Look, man, look, men and women, look, man, at the end of the day, protect your fucking assets, protect your money, bro. Something that you worked out hard for, man, protect it. Prenups are to protect both sides, man. You can come to an agreement where you don't have to lose all of your shit just because, oh my gosh, I love this person and I want to lose all my shit in a divorce. Come on, man, we gotta be smarter. Protect yourselves.
Mike Tyson. He was once the most feared professional boxer in the world. And even if now he is a bit rusty, you do not want to piss him off. But like all mega powerful people, he also had a weak point. In Tyson's case, that was his addictive personality. During his spectacular career, he managed to put under his belt not 1 or 2, but 50 wins. And the scariest part is that of those 50 wins, 44 were by knockout. So yeah, not a guy to piss off, alright. And all that pays well, very well. It's estimated that Tyson amassed a fortune of $400 million over his career. But his life wasn't all fairy tales. Apparently, he had a very nasty addiction. His addiction was worthy of his status and fame, of course. He compulsively bought extremely expensive items. But
that is not expensive what he was in.
Your obsession of the world champion was, you would never believe this, pigeons. I mean, you really can't make this stuff up. Tyson had 3,000 pigeons at his property, and many of those cost thousands of dollars. His taste for luxury was so expensive that in 2003, he had to file for bankruptcy. He was $23 million in debt. Number 11.
Nobody there to save him.
Hammer.
All them people that sucked them dry, bro. When nobody there to say this, man. At the end of the day, that shit's sad, bro. Same with MC Hammer. It's crazy.
He famously sang "Can't Touch This," but then the IRS came along and they touched that. He was an iconic 90s American rapper, and his net worth was estimated at $70 million. For the time, that was big money.
Damn.
He had everything anyone could ever want.
Almost
Talent,
200 mil?
fame, success,
Nowadays?
money. His first ever album was produced by his own small record company, and he sold the copies from the trunk of his car.
Years just fly by, and so for me, it's like, wait, I thought I recorded that about 5 or 6 years ago.
But that didn't last long, as Capitol Records heard about his amazing success on the streets and gave him a $1.75 million deal. Hammer became a millionaire overnight. From that moment on, he skyrocketed to stardom. At 18 million copies, his album, Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em, is to this date one of the best-selling rap albums of all time. But MC Hammer suffered one of the most incredible downfalls in music history.
That's a
and
fact.
to answer why, you need to look into his friends. Quotations for friends, actually. And also into his
Facts.
thirst of everything shiny and luxurious. He spent a lot of money on himself and also on everyone around him. And by a lot of money, I mean millions and millions. He was literally spending money like it would never stop coming. Number 10.
Damn.
Warren Sapp.
I ain't know Warren Sapp
Warren
was gonna
Sapp
be on
was
here.
one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and he was paid like it. After playing 4 years on his rookie contract, Sapp signed a 5-year deal in 1998 with the Buccaneers
Used to be
worth
the
over
guy.
$35 million. Then, in 2004, the Raiders signed Sapp to a 7-year, $36 million deal. But Sapp's best days were behind him. After his 12 years in the NFL, he managed to amass $82 million. And according to his fans, he was worth every penny. And he didn't seem to be too reckless with his money either, like many other NFL superstars before him. So what could have possibly gone wrong with responsible family man Warren Sapp? Well, apparently that last statement was very wrong. And I mean very, very wrong. For starters, Sapp built a $4.1 million mansion and filled it with the most luxurious and expensive
He had a
stuff
lot. He could do
ever.
that.
Like a $1,200 lion skin rug, 240 pairs of Jordans worth over $6,000, and of course, a large painting of a nude woman. Oh, and a pair of boxing gloves signed by Muhammad Ali.
That's not
When
even
he
a lot of
filed
money.
For Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2012, all his possessions were liquidated. Sapp had $6.45 million in assets to his name at the time, and that wasn't enough to pay his $6.7 million in debt. Number 9. Brendan Fraser. There are many different theories as to why Fraser lost his fortune and fame, but one thing is true. During the 90s, Brendan Fraser's face was absolutely everywhere. He was the definition of a rising star. He could do it all.
That's a fact.
The lovable action hero, the goofy fish out of water, even the main character in a drama. He was nominated by the Chicago Film Association as the most promising young actor in 1993. He also acted in many Oscar award-winning films. Remember the mega successful summer blockbuster, one of the most watched movies of all time, The Mummy? Yeah, he's the main character.
Run fast, look like a stud, and don't die.
His career was taking off so quickly it was almost unreal. But suddenly, he just fell off the face of the earth. Nobody was giving him roles anymore. So what could have possibly happened to Brendan Fraser? Well, the thing is, we only remember the movies that made tons of money, of course, but if you look closely, he's worked in many movies that were a complete disaster, and every flop would lose millions of dollars. So he went from having a $45 million net worth to being completely broke. Number 8.
You know what's crazy about this typecasting shit, man? It's like when they do these movies, it's just like when a movie doesn't do well, they career just fucking suffers. Maybe it's the script. So does the same thing happen to the people that wrote this shit? Do their careers end? Or is it just all on the actors? I need that to be answered, man.
50 Cent. Now, let's talk about the rap superstar that brought us, ironically, the album called Get Rich or Die Tryin'. 50 Cent was earning $185,000 a month at the height of his rapping career. Let that sink in for a second. That's a lot of money. He even made it to the Forbes list with his $500 million fortune back in 2010. His first album sold about 6 million copies in the first year of its release, and after that, he starred in his own Hollywood biopic. And his straight way to stardom didn't end there. Shortly after that, he invested in an energy drink brand called Vitamin Water, which was later bought by Coca-Cola, earning him the handsome sum of $100 million. For a guy nicknamed 50 Cent, he sure was mega rich.
With the car, or do you have to have them custom made?
I had to get them to make the car Versace.
But shortly after all those amazing feats, the rapper started having a stroke of bad luck. And it all started when he invested in the company Slick Audio that was supposed to design his new headphones. For some reason, he decided to betray Slick Audio and release his own headphones. That resulted in a huge lawsuit against him for breaching contract. The legal fees he had to pay were so huge, he had to file for bankruptcy. Number 7.
It's crazy. That business shit, bro.
Francis Ford Coppola.
Bro, if you're already the fucking product, bro, that's one thing that we do have to learn, man, especially as black people. When we're already the fucking product, we need to source these things and do it ourselves. We don't need these companies to make our fucking product. You're already the product. Now you put your name on it, you make it yourself and put that shit out there. That shit's crazy, bro. You should have did it in the first place, but that's just a learning lesson. And shout out to him though, because we got to see him fail at that in public. So therefore we don't have to suffer. 50 Cent already showed us. So yeah, shout out to him. 50 Cent is extremely rich though. But at the end of this though, y'all, he's not broke.
He is single-handedly responsible for 2 of the most iconic films of the 70s, and actually the history of cinema, Apocalypse Now and The Godfather. He is arguably one of the greatest directors of all time. He also started a cinema dynasty, his daughter being the most influential female director alive, Sofia Coppola. In his spare time, he produces wine, runs several hotels, and co-owns the Rubicon restaurant with his friend and star actor Robert De Niro. He also launched the American Zoetrope, which is an artist-controlled studio that sadly got requisitioned by his creditors in 1983. So what happened to this titan of the movie industry? What could make him lose his money? Well, the answer lies in his generosity. He basically financed all the projects of his acquaintances that he believed in, and there were many. In particular, he financed One from the Heart largely from his own pocket. The project cost in total $25 million, but it only earned $8 million overall. This incident had a devastating effect on Coppola's career. The cherry on top was when his personal office in Buenos Aires was ransacked, and they stole not only his computers, but his backups as well. He lost decades of writing, pictures, ideas. That is when Francis's life started to really decline. Number 6.
Crazy.
Pamela Anderson. We all remember the blonde bombshell from the TV show Baywatch, or from her unforgettable performance in Dancing with the Stars. She was also in the spotlight for her short-lived but eventful marriage with superstar French football player Adel Rami. She's famous for her beauty and for her talent. She's used to being the center of attention, especially for her spicy pictures in Playboy magazine. But recently, she's been on the front pages of the celebrity gossip papers for another, more serious and dramatic reason. That reason being tax fraud. In 2011, she apparently owed the federal government over $500,000 US, and her good looks wouldn't be able to help her in that situation.
figure, maybe, you know, with what he does in his work, but he's very funny.
The IRS doesn't care if you look good in a bikini. They only see the color green. Californian authorities even called her one of the 500 biggest tax scofflaws ever. The star publicly stated that she had no idea she was missing payment on her taxes, and she blamed it all on a former business manager that she was no longer employing, but that she claims conned her for a lot of money. She finally resolved the problem by paying monthly what she owed, like a good, proper American citizen. But for a little while there, it was touch and go.
Nah, that's what's up, though. Hey, long as she paid that shit back, though, like, look, man, well, you ain't really got no choice, nigga. Like, they gonna force you, or you going to jail, bro. And you know what? I don't want to go to jail to be with a bunch of guys, bro. For what? What we have to? I don't like y'all that much. We cool and all, but
Basinger.
It's torture.
She started her career as a successful model, and then she moved on to the little screen first, before ultimately the silver one. She was undoubtedly a major sex symbol of the 80s and 90s. She won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in the iconic film L.A. Confidential, and she was even a Bond girl next to legendary Sean Connery. How can such a superstar end up filing for bankruptcy? Well, in 1989, she paid $20 million for the town of Braselton, Georgia. She was supposed to create a lucrative tourist attraction like a theme park, or better yet, a movie studio, but instead of doing so, she declared bankruptcy 4 years later in 1993. As a result, she had to sell the property.
You're the first man in 5 years who didn't tell me I look like Veronica Lake inside of a minute.
Producer Carl Mazzaconi also sued her for backing out of an oral contract to star in one of his films, something very serious in the United States. After a long legal battle, the Los Angeles Superior Court ordered her to pay damages and lawyer fees. The star eventually settled with Mainline Pictures a year later, and she managed to avoid the initial ask of $8.1 million. Since then, she has scored some roles, but nothing really big. Number 4.
It's a dirty game, man.
Gaye. He is known as one of the most famous and influential musicians of all time. His songs are still used in cinema, TV shows, and nightclubs all over the world. On top of his incredibly tragic ending that came prematurely on April 1st, 1984, when he tried to come in between a dispute that his parents were having over a missing insurance document, and as a result...
Hey, man, dude, look, be for real, though. Look, do I look like Marvin Gaye, y'all? My friends be... My friends be telling me that shit. Do I look like Marvin Gaye? Look at me, hold on. Look at Marvin Gaye. Look at me. Hold on. Y'all see him? Look at me. Shit's weird, right? Let's keep going. Let me know in the comments down below.
He was shot dead by his own father. He was only 44 years old. But even before such a dramatic event, Marvin's life was starting to become extremely difficult on every front. After falling behind on alimony payments to his first wife, Anna Gordy Gaye, he had to file for bankruptcy in 1976. A judge ordered him to pay her $600,000 from royalties of his up-and-coming album, Here, My Dear.
Wouldn't like to get there too soon. Soon ripe, soon rotten, my mom used to always say.
The star musician did not have that kind of cash at the time, but he diligently tried to pay her every penny the judge decided she was owed. At the time of his murder, he was already halfway through his debt. That means Anna was still owed just under $300,000, a sum of money she would never see, of course. Number 3.
That type of shit, look, man, look, I'm be real, bro. It makes me sick to my stomach that you just don't protect yourself. That's just crazy. Because, bro, once you're done, bro, you should be done. You shouldn't be in a situation where you have to pay for somebody else's fucking life, bro. Just because y'all not together no more. They should have had a fucking job too. Much as motherfuckers like to talk and shit, bro, you gotta hold your own weight too. I don't believe in somebody like getting the shit into the stick and you gotta live on the streets and shit. I don't believe that. But it should be something where you both will be okay with leaving the situation without trying to destroy the other person's life with making them pay for your lifestyle for the rest of their life. I just don't get it, bro. For a person that you said that you loved, I wouldn't want to see nobody like that. I guess that's just me though. Everybody ain't like me, and I gotta realize that.
Toni Braxton.
Some of you people are just dirty.
She was a very loved and respected artist
Love to see
during the
people
90s.
suffer.
She's a Grammy award-winning singer, and she generated over $170 million in revenue from only the sales of her first 2 albums alone. She was an extremely promising musician that was
love
clearly
Toni
on the
Braxton.
fast lane towards stardom and mega fame, with all the opulence that goes with it.
Thinking there's something sexy, and sex and cigarettes kind of go together.
So how is it possible that only 2 years later, after the 1996 release of her album, Secrets, she had to file for bankruptcy? Well, Braxton admitted herself on having overspent a little bit here and there, mainly on lavish decor for her house. But that wasn't the real problem. The real issue actually came from her employers. Apparently, her record label only gave her 33 cents per album sold. Even for the 90s, that is an insulting sum of money for such
Wow.
a successful artist, especially considering how much money she was actually generating. She
Wow.
ended up suing her record label to try to terminate her contract. But sadly, her harsh times weren't over just yet. She self-financed a Las Vegas show to try and make some money, but her plans completely backfired after she was diagnosed with lupus and also with serious heart problems. That left her unable to pay all the vendors that she had already contracted, which left her with only one option: filing for bankruptcy. Number 2.
Terrible.
Curt Schilling. Not being politically correct can cost you your job nowadays. And if you don't believe me, just ask Curt Schilling what he thinks about it. Curt is a former MLB pitcher and ESPN analyst who had the very clumsy and questionable idea of professing his anti-transgender opinions publicly on the internet.
Oh yeah, they can
His
get
post
you for
depicted
that.
a man wearing a wig, and the caption alluded to the fact that if you don't let him in the bathroom with your daughter, you're a narrow-minded bigot that needs to die. Yeah, needless to say, he was fired from ESPN as soon as they got wind of the post, and many others.
Business in this company is
Yo.
on a trajectory to be a multi.
ESPN is
Yo, look, I don't give a fuck. Look, I love everybody. That shit was funny, but out of pocket like a mug, man. Everybody deserves respect, man. No matter how we feel, if they pass laws and they have to do this, just don't go to public bathrooms, bro. I won't even let my kid look. We'll go somewhere else. We'll people making all these weird laws and shit. Like I feel you, but we can't.
owned by Disney.
Can't control
and they claim
everything.
to be a very progressive company, so nobody really knows what exactly Curt thought was going to happen. In any case, all the money he had made during his 20-year-long career in baseball was now all he had, and he decided to invest every penny to build the biggest video game company in the world. He called his company 38 Studios. But for some reason, they only released one video game ever, and although it received very good reviews, no company can survive with only one release. So a few months later, Curt had to file for bankruptcy. Number 1. McKenzie Pfeiffer. You might remember him from the mega successful blockbuster Divergent. He also portrayed Dr. Gray Pratt on NBC's long-running medical drama ER and had a co-starring role opposite Eminem in the 2002 feature film 8 Mile, which had a huge box office.
Yeah, they ain't talking about the classics though, bro. This nigga ain't seen none of the movies that really made him to who he is today. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
Breaking record revenue. And Eminem is also the only reason I know how to pronounce this guy's name. But in 2014, he had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, according to court documents obtained by Entertainment Tonight.
I just wanted to be on the couch with you, man. See what's happening with the people.
So how did the up-and-coming male actor suddenly seem to have such bad luck strike? The star was 39 years old at the time, and he claimed to owe $1.3 million in debt. Most of the debt reportedly stemmed from back taxes, which totaled $1.2 million. But McKenzie Pfeiffer only had $67,000 in assets at that point, making it impossible for him to pay up. Pfeiffer also allegedly owed $4,500 in back child support. He has 2 sons, O. McKay with his ex-wife Melinda Williams, and McKay Jr. with his ex-girlfriend Oni Saratha. All these public setbacks made it very difficult for the star to keep his head on the prize, and as roles started to become more scarce, he kind of slowly disappeared from the spotlight and from the silver and small screens.
Yeah, as y'all can see, man, it's not easy, like he just said, to climb to the top of the world. And whatever you fall off. No. See, it's a lot more to this game, man. You get more money, you have to be smarter about your decisions, because just like anything else, man, you can spend that money and be flat broke before you know it. It's people out here that are very responsible with their money, still find their way to be living on the streets. We live in a fickle time and a fickle place, people. We have to be more united, more together. Because even when people fall flat on their face, man, they need help. And it's up to us to help our people. Why we like, I don't agree with the people that are homeless, the people that go broke, that stand on the side of the road and want your money. That, and you can see that they're young and able, or if they're able and they just don't want to work, there are places that's hiring. It might not be the place that you want to work, but you have to humble yourself and get there. That's how I climb back in to this matrix. And that's how I climb back in and work my way up to get into where I'm at today. It's because I never gave up. I focused on my goal. I didn't just talk about it, speaking it into existence. You need actions. You can't just pray about it. You need actions. If you pray without actions, you will not get it. Your creator put you on this earth for a mission, not to give you shit. Send you on your spiritual walk, man, so that you can achieve the things that you need to achieve in life. It's so much easier to give up, man. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this. You know, I can do it. I've been showing y'all that from day one when I first started YouTube. You can do the same thing as well. Like I always say, spread love, because there's too much hate in this world. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next video. I'm out though. Bye.